Hello there, and welcome to another installment of Mental Health Monday. I am Raven, and I'm here today to talk about my How to Be Happy series. Today's entry is about curiosity. So let's dive on in. So many people have heard the expression, curiosity kills the cat. But most don't know it has a second part. The second part, but satisfaction brought it back. For today's installment, I really want us to kind of dig into what that means. Because I think it's really important to understand the expression as a whole. As a valuable piece of advice when you look at the whole picture. So, often we're terrified of the answers to our questions. We're afraid to be curious. We sometimes opt not to ask them in favor of just leaving things as they are. Just kind of try to ignore that dread in the pit of our stomach. Deep down, those feelings and questions are still going to be there, no matter how hard you try to ignore them. You can't really lie to yourself or ignore your feelings. Down, you know what the truth is. The feelings and questions that you need to explore don't really go away when we don't ask them or acknowledge them. Instead, they get louder and louder and louder until we can think of almost nothing else. Avoiding the issue starts to make us feel worse than the problem ever did. We're all really scared to look at ourselves and our emotions closely. I think that it's something that we consider a risk to our sanity and to our peace. When in fact, it's just an essential part of knowing and loving ourselves and each other. We're all out here just trying to not be the cat that curiosity killed by avoiding ourselves, our lives, and our feelings. However, we'd operate a bit differently if we understood the complete expression. Anything that can be destroyed by the truth deserves and needs to be destroyed. It is actually a lot less scary than it sounds bouncing around on the inside of your skull. We're operating our whole lives afraid of the answers to our questions about ourselves and each other. But if that strategy worked, there would be a lot more happy people in the world. If we look at the whole quote, it's not telling us not to ask questions. It's acknowledging the risk and the reward of curiosity. We've spent our whole lives seeing half of this really important picture. We must know that, both things are present. The risk of questions about ourselves and our emotions, our relationships, and our lives is worth taking. The reward of true happiness, true growth, and honest relationships are worth that risk. So how can we use curiosity to our advantage? In the first installment of the series, I wrote, stay curious about your emotions and motivations, as well as everyone else's. Curiosity is a tool we can use to get to the bottom of and understand ourselves and our lives. Happiness comes from understanding and accepting ourselves. We can't ourselves or be truly happy without first understanding ourselves. The gifts understanding can bring include happiness, but that's not all that understanding can give us. In order to be open to understanding ourselves and to have any success accepting others, we must not only ask questions, but stop placing judgment on the answers. When you're exercising your curiosity in an effort to understand yourself, you have to do your best to look at whatever you find out without judgment. Whatever the answers are, they're merely a starting point for your growth. They don't limit what you can be. They are only a reflection of your experiences thus far. Things so trivial have nothing to do with our worth. Our worth is much deeper than that. We need to feel worthy to be happy. So we cannot place conditions on our worth. It has to be separate from our thoughts and feelings and actions. It is an inherent part of who we are, and nothing can take it from us. We have to choose to surrender it. Knowing that is a huge precursor to exercising the risk of curiosity. Curiosity can hurt, but it can't take your worth. Knowing that the cat's story seems a little extra, right? There's a risk, it might hurt, but the cat survived. So will you. Remember, when asking questions, that the answers might not hurt, but they might hurt. Understanding your truth and speaking it is quite literally worth any hurt you can imagine. However, in fact, it's the only path to real happiness. Not surface happiness or social media performances, but true, lasting happiness and freedom from your fears. Everything that you want is on the other side of your fears, but you have to walk through them. This will help you to conquer them, because facing your fears inevitably shows you you're stronger than your fears are. It's also the only way to get what you want and need out of life. You have to walk through your fears to make it easier on yourself. You can do it with a friend, a counselor, your journal. You're not alone. Everyone needs this knowledge. The problem is everyone only heard half the story about curiosity. If they knew that the risk was worth it, they might not be so afraid of it. So ask yourself about your feelings and your thoughts. Challenge them and see if they hold up. Journal through them or talk them out with someone you trust. This will help bring clarity from all that's bouncing around in your head. Seek to truly understand how you got to be who you are, without judgment. Growth requires understanding of where you are starting. So explore your strengths, motivations, and weaknesses. Your knowledge of them is key to reaching your goals. You need to know what is challenging for you and what you excel at to reach your goals for yourself. Remember that it's separate from your worth. Think of them instead as taking stock of enemies and allies in the battle of life. It's just strategy. Continually explore your emotions and the physical feelings and reactions associated with them. Try to figure out where they're coming from. Is this a current problem that you're responding to, or one from the past? Is your feeling matching the situation, or maybe there are some other factors involved? It's really important and helpful to know what triggers you, is it that is going to be upsetting to you? So when you find yourself really upset, that's a great time to be curious about what caused that. How did that come about for you? What were some contributing factors? Generally speaking, it's not just one thing, but it can help us to understand the different factors involved. And we need to remember that our feelings are not good or bad. They just are. They're just little messages from our brain that we need something. Your truth doesn't give a fuck what your opinion is. It'll still be the truth over there, waiting for you whenever you're ready to try and accept it or listen to the message it came to give you. All feelings and behaviors are at their most simplistic purpose, designed to help us meet our needs. Our physical, emotional, and spiritual needs are all important to our well-being and happiness. In order to meet our needs, we must first be aware of them. And awareness requires curiosity. We can't get the answers without being brave enough to ask questions. So now that you know how important curiosity is to your happiness, it seems more worthy of the risk, doesn't it? We've been limiting our perspectives out of fear. However, in that same action, we're dooming ourselves to only seeing part of the picture or living half a life. Half of a life isn't really enough for most, and this is the reason that so few are actually happy. We've gone our whole lives only knowing half of the story about curiosity. We're taught to inherently be scared of curiosity, but it's actually one of the most important tools we can use to help us build the happiness that we keep looking for in other people, other things, and, whatever grass is greener situation we have our eye on. Instead of practicing building those things for ourselves, most of us keep looking for someone else or something else to build us. True and lasting happiness has to be built by us. No one can do it for us or understand us and our needs better than we can. And I must end on the important part of this story about curiosity and the cat. This often told tale is better, richer, and more helpful, and even more true when you know the whole story. Stay curious, my friends.